Coming in at number 10, we have Damian Wayne, the son of Batman. Genetically engineered and grown in an artificial womb following a night of passion between Talia al Ghul and Bruce Wayne, Damian was intended by the villain Ra's al Ghul to be his ultimate successor as the ruler of the League of Shadows. Trained to be an assassin from an incredibly young age, Batman wasn't even aware he had a son until the boy was 10 years old and left in his care by Talia. And while initially the father and son combo had some issues sorting out their issues and Damian's stance on Batman's whole no-killing rule, Damian has since become an important member of the Bat family as the 5th Robin and continues to be an essential ally of Batman to this day.
Number 10. Sir-El. Sir-El originally believed she was Kal-El's daughter. She told Superman as much, believing she was the daughter of him and Lois Lane from the future. A genetic test would reveal that she was telling the truth in part, and genetically was Superman's daughter. In reality, it would later be revealed that she was actually created by Brainiac to bring about the end of the world. He created her using Superman's genetic material and implanted her with the Yes virus, a techno-organic virus that when unleashed would allow him to rule the world. She was also designed to be strong enough to defeat Superman. Brainiac had also intended to use Sir-El to destroy his nemesis. Once she learned of this, she decided to erase herself from existence in order to protect the world and her pseudo-father, Superman.
Coming in at number 8, we have Cube, Cyborg's son from a dark possible future. Hailing from a world where a force known as the Darkness has threatened to corrupt all of the Earth's heroes, Cube's real name is George Marvin Stone. The son of Cyborg, Cube is literally a human mother box, connected down at the DNA level to one of the most iconic objects in the entire DC universe. Because of this complete integration with alien technology, Cube is able to perform all of the tech-based powers that his father has, alongside being capable of generating his own teleporting boom tubes whenever he wants. With all of those powers combined, Cube is definitely a cyborg you don't want to mess with. Coming in at number 7, we have Zod, the born-in-a-lab spawn of an evil Superman and Wonder Woman from the world of the Justice Lords. Named after one of Superman's most iconic villains, this Zod was born on a world where Superman turned to the dark side and turned the Justice League into the Justice Lords following the death of their universe's Flash. Unfortunately, following the birth of Zod, the baby was kidnapped by a Brainiac from another universe and locked away in the Phantom Zone, which is probably the least ideal place possible to raise a child. With both Kryptonian and Amazonian blood flowing through his veins, Zod was beyond dangerous even if he just remained a little kid. Coming in at number 6, we have Nightwing, the adopted son of Batman and the very first Robin. While not biologically a child of the Justice League, Dick Grayson has been by Batman's side since nearly the very beginning, essentially adopted by Bruce Wayne following the death of his circus performer parents, and becoming the very first Robin, the Boy Wonder. Since then, Dick Grayson has accomplished a lot, helping found the Teen Titans, establishing his own superhero identity as Nightwing, and even briefly taking over the position of Batman on a few occasions where Bruce Wayne was incapable of performing the role. No matter what the future of the DC Universe brings, Nightwing will always be an incredible fan favorite.
Number 5, Damian Wayne, Brave and the Bold edition. There we are. Damian Wayne is the son of Bruce and Catwoman, but this time in the Knights of Tomorrow, where he's voiced by Patrick Kavanagh and Diedrich Bader. So while Bruce was looking at baby Wayne, Bruce realized that his son would one day have to take on crime lords. That's so funny to me, like superhero context aside, just looking at a baby and being like, oh yeah, you're gonna punch like 900 people in the throat one day. I can see it. It's amazing. After witnessing the death of his parents, he grabbed one of the 2 Robin outfits on display at the Batman Museum, and Bob's your uncle. You know the rest.
Coming in at number 4, we have Hunter Prince, the potential future son of Wonder Woman. In the same dark future that Cyborg's son Cube hailed from, Wonder Woman was one of the first heroes to be infected by the darkness, giving birth to a son that could become an even more powerful vessel for the villain. Wonder Woman gave the boy up to Superman and Lois Lane, hoping that they would be able to prevent her son from going to the dark side, but unfortunately, Hunter believed his mother was giving him up because he was male, as was Amazonian custom. custom. Growing up angry at the previous generation that had failed him, Hunter possessed all of the strengths of Wonder Woman, including her lasso of truth and bracelets of submission, making him a truly powerful and angry enemy.
Number 3. Olivier Raven. Olivier Raven is legally known as Olivier LeBeau and is one of the alternate reality children of Gambit and Rogue. Honestly, I feel like there are not enough of these kids out in the multiverse. I don't know if that's just me. For a couple as famous as Gambit and Rogue, I mean, you would think that we'd have a lot more kids from them, at least through the multiverse. Though admittedly, I'm not quite sure that Rogue and Gambit are really the kid-having type, at least from what I've seen in the main continuity. They seem pretty content with just having their fur babies right now. So maybe they just aren't super into having kids as a family. Olivier hails from the reality of Earth 41001, the reality of Gen Next, a group Ollie is part of. He has powers similar to his mother's, except he has better control over them and is able to choose when and how much power, life energy, and memories he absorbs via physical contact, or doesn't absorb in cases where he just, wants to make physical contact without using his powers. He can also absorb powers on a more permanent level, although he has less control, it seems, over when this happens. Like his father, he also seems to have some charm-based powers. Either that, or he's just charming. Number 2. Proteus. Proteus is the son of Moira McTaggart, who before I would count more as like an ex-ally, but with recent revelations we can definitely consider her a member in the same way we might consider someone like Charles Xavier. It turns out that Moira herself was a mutant this whole time, possessing unique reincarnation powers. She has also been known for being a leader and teacher of X-Men groups before, including the time when she led a team that Professor X then recruited, sending them into Krakoa to rescue the original X-Men. Not Krakoa as we know it now, but Krakoa as it was back in the day when it was like a monster island. Proteus is Kevin McTaggart, son of Joseph and Moira McTaggart. He is currently one of the 5 on Krakoa, and his powers as part of that team are mainly used to warp reality, allowing the non-viable eggs that Egg, formerly known as Gold Balls, produces to become viable for life. These eggs are then used to grow new versions of fallen mutants. Proteus is an Omega level mutant who requires hosts to survive. Initially, Kevin had a body, but now he's basically just pure energy. The hosts he controls and feeds off of eventually are exhausted and killed by that energy drain, making him not just a powerful psionic mutant, but also a powerful energy vampire as well, unintentionally. Number 1. Legion. Legion is the son of Professor Charles Xavier that was conceived when he had a love affair with Gabrielle Haller, which is where Legion gets his legal last name, as his given name is David Haller. Legion is so powerful because he suffers from a severe dissociative identity disorder, where he has more than 100 personas residing within him. Each persona has a number, many have names, and they each have their own specific power set that show up whenever they take over. Because of this, there is almost nothing that Legion isn't capable of. He can manipulate matter and time. We've seen him time travel and completely warp reality as a result of his possible abilities. He also has some pretty powerful hair, which I gotta say, I'm happy that he still rocks even now in the current modern day comics. He's still got that sweet hair. So tall. Number 10. Sisters. The Sisters were a group of clones that Gabrielle Kinney was a part of. Altogether, including Gabby, there were 10 of them. They were created by Alchemix using samples of DNA from both Logan and Sarah Kinney, Laura aka X-23's mother. They were each known as a new numbered clone for X-23. Zelda was the oldest and the leader. With the Sisters, the elders usually protected the younger clones, with Gabby being one of the youngest and often receiving the most protection from the other sisters. Alchemix intended to create them to be used as bodyguards, but they eventually escaped and sought to get revenge on their captors, running into Laura Kinney, who was Wolverine at the time, and who initially questioned their motives. Number 9. Fire Knives. On part 1 of this list we talked about some of the mongrels, but there was someone that we did not mention. Fire Knives is a daughter of Wolverine. We don't know much about her, not knowing her true name or the name of her mother or who exactly her mother was. What we do know is that Dawan recruited her to join a team known as the Mongrels, whose name was likely inspired by the name Dawan had taken, which means mongrel in Japanese, a cruel name that his adopted parents' servants referred to him by, due to his mixed appearance. The Mongrels were a group used against Wolverine by the organization known as the Red Right Hand, all of whose members had a vendetta against him. We don't know if Fire Knives had any superhuman abilities or was a mutant like her father, but we do know that she was a skilled martial artist and a combatant. It's also possible, considering her own fiery red locks, that her mother was a redhead, which Logan tends to have a weakness and fondness for, like many other characters in comics too. Seems to be a pattern in the comics world. Redheads. We like redheads. Number 8. Hulk Jr. This is the child that Old Man Logan adopted after defeating the Banner clan, who in turn had killed Logan's family after they got tired of waiting for him to return with the rent money. When Logan of Earth 807128 had discovered they had killed his family, he went into a rage, killing everyone except for little Hulk Jr., the original Hulk, Bruce Banner's favorite and newest member of the gang. Baby Bruce was then adopted by Old Man Logan, joining him on his adventures, with Logan vowing to raise him as his own son and teach him how to be a hero. Number 7. Esme. Esme is one of the main Stepford cuckoos. Well, I mean, I guess they're all pretty main, but you know what I mean. She's probably one of the most well known if we're talking offhand about how many of the cuckoos you can name. Esme and the other cuckoos are basically like the children of Emma Frost, although as I've said before, not children that she had consensually. And I didn't say that before in this list, but if you've heard me talk about the Stepford cuckoos and their relation to Emma, yeah. Instead, these were lab babies basically made from Emma's eggs that were stolen from Emma while she was in a comatose state. Esme, like the other cuckoos, is kind of like a genetic clone as well as a child of Emma's, and Emma actually does consider the cuckoos to be like her daughters. She treats them as though they were her own flesh and blood, and often her own responsibility, kinda stepping in to like play mom sometimes, although she does give them freedom to make their own mistakes. I guess what I mean is Emma isn't known for being like a controlling kind of parent. She's like, I'm here when you need me, otherwise you do you. More recently in the comics, Esme, known for her diamond form and powerful telepathic abilities, teamed up and primarily dated young Cable. Well, technically all the cuckoos were dating him at one point, though I would say Esme was basically the main squeeze of young Cable, and the sister that he was most taken by while he was dating all of them. And if you're like, whoa, how did that happen? The Stepford cuckoos, they share things because they're kind of like a hive mind. So they're like, we'll just all date this person. It's cool. Also Krakoa. Everyone's dating everyone. Number 6. Akihiro. Akihiro is the son of Wolverine and his wife Itsu. Unfortunately, before Akihiro was even born, his life took a turn for the worse. Along with inheriting his father's powers, I think he also inherited some of his tragic luck. Wolverine has the worst luck, I think. His mother Itsu was killed before she could give birth to him, assassinated. The child was believed dead, but in reality he had been cut from her womb and possibly, due to his inherited healing powers, miraculously survived. Although that's not clear, because usually your powers don't manifest until puberty, but sometimes your powers manifest when you're in the womb. I mean, look at Professor X with Cassandra Nova. Apparently that's a thing that happened. Akihiro would grow up and become a pawn of the villain known as Romulus. For most of his life, he'd also be known as Dawan, a cruel nickname given to him when he was a child, being raised by his adoptive parents. The nickname was given to him because of his mixed race appearance, being part American and part Japanese. Though to be clear, his parents weren't the ones that gave it to him. It was people around his parents. Akihiro's powers are similar to Wolverine's, though his bone claws are a little bit different in terms of placement and appearance. Like his father, Akihiro is also known for being a skilled fighter as well. The apple does not fall far from the tree when it comes to fighting abilities. Number 5. Xandra Naramani. Xandra is Professor X's daughter, who is created out of his genetic material and that of his lover's genetic material, the Shi'ar Magistrix Lilandra Naramani, after both of them were believed dead. As such, Xandra grew up to become Shi'ar royalty and also spent a good amount of her life hunted because of this, with various parties attempting to use her for their own means. Xandra is an extremely gifted telepath. She can manipulate others' minds, read minds, and can create hyper-realistic telepathic illusions. Number 4. Ruby Summers. She was the ex-offspring used in our oh-so-clickable thumb for the part 1 to this list, and although she was on my extended list for that part 1, my like long brainstorm that I came up with, I didn't get around to talking about her because I kind of reached a point where there were too many Summers children on that list, and I was like, I don't want to make this a top 10 children of Cyclops. We got that list, and also that's not what this list is. What can I say? Sykes got strong genes. That's why Mr. Sinister is so obsessed after all and is known as the #1 fan of the Summers Club. Scott Summers is Ruby's dad in the alternate reality she hails from, and Emma Frost is her mother. This makes Ruby fairly powerful, not at the level of Hope or X-Man, but still pretty impressive. She's also super super cool looking, which is an added bonus. Ruby hails from the alternate Earth of 1191, the home reality of famous X-Men ally Bishop. Ruby is also capable of emitting optic blasts like her dad and his brothers, but she has more control over when and how she emits these blasts, unlike her dad who's like, I literally need a visor. Ruby also comes with her Ruby form, which like her mother's diamond form grants her invulnerability and pretty much immortality. Number 3. Torrent. Kendall Logan is the amazingly cool daughter of Wolverine and Storm from the alternate Earth of 9811. Reality 9811 gives us an alternate world where the heroes and villains that Beyonder transported to Battle World during Secret Wars never left. Torrent was one of the heroic children who assembled to battle the children of the villains. Torrent has her father's healing factor and her mother's abilities to control the weather. She can also fly, like Storm. Number 2. Kirika Yoshida. From the Age of Apocalypse alternate Earth of 295, we have the daughter that Mariko Yoshida and Wolverine never got to have in the main continuity reality verse 616, Kirika Yoshida. So many alternate Mariko and Wolverine children. I love it. Mariko and Logan, aka Weapon X, took different sides following the rise of Apocalypse. Weapon X joined Apocalypse and the side of mutants, while Mariko allied herself with the Human High Council. As such, Kirika was somehow lost and I don't know, she became the prisoner of Mr. Sinister somehow. She was later retrieved from his labs after Apocalypse's defeat, where she had been labeled as X-23. Kirika has claws like her father and seems to have his superhuman senses as well. Number 1. Ray's Darkholme. Ray's is the son of Wolverine and Mystique from the alternate reality of Earth 13729. This alternate timeline saw an alternate Wolverine become headmaster of the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. It is also the home to a new brotherhood of evil mutants led by Charles's and Mystique's son, Charles Xavier II, and his half-brother Rays. Rays first appeared impersonating Kitty Pryde in X-Men Battle of the Atom issue number 1 in order to get closer to Wolverine so that he could take him out. We also learned that Rays killed his mother, whom he then took the place of. He has both the combined powers of Wolverine and Mystique, and is even believed to be a more powerful and skilled shapeshifter than his mother. Wow. Number 10. Ren Duren. Ren Duren, which sounds kinda like Duran Duran but isn't, is Logan's daughter from an alternate universe. Her mother was a sorceress known as Sylvie Darkness, and she grew up in a family with a strong lineage of magic users. She herself has both a healing factor and magical abilities, which allow her to open portals. Her bone claws seem to also be imbued with mystical energy as they glow. Ren made her first full appearance in 2019's Marvel Comics Presents issue number 5. Number 9. Shadow Stalker. Are you ready for the mongrels? Cause they are coming! Coming for Wolverine's head, that is. The mongrels were a group of Wolverine's children who all kinda had a personal vendetta against him, many of them being abandoned by him. They were convinced by Dawan to become a group known as the Mongrels, who were trained by the Red Right Hand to become assassins and to take on Wolverine. Shadow Stalker was one member of the Mongrels who didn't even get a name. We also don't know who her mother was, but she had a very interesting look when it came to her costume, sporting a weird mask with flail-like hair tendrils, like a flail ponytail. Pony flails. Canon Foot. Canon Foot was another mongrel. Once again, we do not know his name or the name of his mother, but Dawan also found him and brought him into the fold. His abilities we know to be closer to Wolverine's, giving him an animal-like instinct, superhuman strength, speed, and agility. He also appears to have claws on his toes and fingers, similar to Sabretooth. Sophist. All we think we know is that Sophist is likely Mexican. He is also a member of the Mongrels. Once again, we do not know his mother's name or his name. We know that he wears a luchador mask and enjoys shouting out battle cries in Spanish though. He often fought with a chainsaw strapped to his arm, hence his mantle of Sophist. Number 7. Scotty and Jade. Scotty and Jade were Old Man Logan's naturally born children, which he had and raised with his partner Maureen. It's thought that Scotty was named after Scott Summers, Wolverine's old and long dead friend. Both his son and daughter, as well as Maureen, were of course murdered in Logan's absence when he went on that mission to acquire enough money to pay rent to the Hulk gang. This was the consequence that Logan was threatened with by the Banner Clan if he didn't pay rent in time. The sad thing was he did collect and bring back the money in time, only to find that the Hulks had gotten bored and restless, tired of waiting, so they killed his family anyways, before the due date that Logan and the Banner Clan had actually agreed upon. Pretty tragic. Number 6. Kuan. Kuan is Wolverine's young clone who is from the alternate Earth of 13119. He first appeared in the Savage Wolverine series, where we were both introduced to him and also watched him die. What's rare in comparison to the reality of Earth 616 is that Kuan was a male clone, whereas many of the Wolverine clones we've seen have been female. He was sent after Logan to help retrieve, or potentially kill and retrieve, his body for a mysterious organization that is never revealed. Instead, the two of them end up teaming up. Number 5. Brian and Mari. Brian and Mari Logan are the children of both Mariko and Wolverine from Earth 1298. This is an alternate reality where Xavier would end up becoming the new Shadow King, and as such the X-Men would be led instead by their co-founder in this reality, Magneto. Here, Havoc is also the only surviving member of the Summers family. We first see Mari and Brian in the Mutant X series, where they are kidnapped by Sabretooth and later have to be saved by their father. Number 4. Wild Thing. Wild Thing is Rena Logan, the daughter of Wolverine and of Elektra from the alternate Earth of 982. The reality of Earth 982 has the Age of Heroes, the big boom of superheroic activity on Earth, happening 15 years earlier in comparison to the main continuity of Earth 616, meaning a lot of our heroes from the main continuity in this reality are retired or simply older now. Such is the case for Rena's parents. Rena is a high schooler when we meet her who is trying to balance the lifestyle of being a hero with that of being a teenager. Her abilities are similar to her father's, but instead of bone claws, she has psychic claws. She is also an insanely skilled martial artist, having been trained by both her father and her mother, so not someone you want to mess with. Number 2. Dawan. Dawan's original name was Akihiro. He is a mutant natural-born son of Wolverine and his wife Itsu. Itsu herself was very pregnant with Logan's child when she was murdered by Bucky Barnes during his time as the assassin known as Winter Soldier. It was later revealed that Itsu's unborn child did not perish, but was instead cut out of Itsu's womb and retrieved by the villain Romulus. Romulus later left the baby on the doorstep of a wealthy Japanese family, who took the baby in and raised him as their own. The family named him Akihiro, but the servants referred to him as Dawan, meaning mongrel, because of his mixed racial appearance. Romulus would later reveal himself to the boy after everything kinda went sideways, claiming to be him from the future and attempting to use and manipulate Dawan for his own purposes. Dawan and his father, considering his backstory as such, have had a rocky relationship throughout the comics, and Dawan is often painted as a villain or a reluctant anti-hero. Number 1. X-23, also known really as just Wolverine. She and her dad are both Wolverine, really. Laura Kinney is technically the genetic twin of Wolverine. She was created when Facility tried to create a clone of Weapon X to use, well, as a weapon. Sarah Kinney, an acclaimed geneticist, was brought in when Xander Rice failed to replicate the adamantium bonding procedure on any of his subjects, who all died during the process. The genetic sample that Sarah was attempting to use to clone Wolverine with was damaged, which prompted her to suggest making a female clone instead of reconstructing the genetic sample artificially, which would take years. When Dr. Sutter and Xander Rice refused to agree with Kinney that this was the best way to proceed, she rebelled and decided to go against their wishes, moving forward with her version of the project. In the end, she was forced into being the surrogate mother for baby Laura, and regretted her earlier views of seeing this being as only a weapon, instead of the true miracle of life that it was. Laura would grow up to be X-23 and would eventually escape the facility and track down her genetic father, Wolverine. Number 10. Kristoff and Kadira Von Doom. Kristoff and Kadira Von Doom are the children of Storm and Dr. Doom. They come from the novel series X-Men The Chaos Engine, which is actually a trilogy wherein we explore what would happen if 3 great villains took control of the Marvel Universe, creating their own version of a perfect world using the Cosmic Cube. It starts off with Doom's variation on this world. In this reality, Dr. Doom has made Storm his wife, and she rules by his side as his Empress. The union of these powerful characters produces 2 children, Kristoff and Kadira. We can assume, of course, being the children of both Doom and Storm, that they would be physically, mentally, and demonstrably powerful when it came to their abilities, especially being raised by these 2 powerhouses. Also, if I wasn't clear about this is an alternate reality, so if you're like, when did this happen? It is not main continuity. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more children of the X-Men, they have a lot of kids if we you know, surf through the multiverse, so we could do it for you. If you want that part 3, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 9. Nocturn. Nocturn is the daughter of Nightcrawler and Scarlet Witch. Obviously, not from the main continuity. In fact, Talia Wagner is known for being a part of a multiversal hero team, the Exiles. Nocturn is from the alternate reality of Earth 2182. In fact, back on her home reality, which first appeared in Millennial Visions, Talia is also known as a member of the X-Men team, fighting alongside her father, Nightcrawler, who is actually their field leader. She is a low-level telepath with incredible superhuman agility skills, the ability to wall crawl, and the ability to fire powerful brimstone hex energy bolts, something inherited from both her father and her mother. Nocturne's physical appearance is also similar to her father's, a bit demonic looking, and of course, blue. All my blue X-Men. Top 10 blue X-Men. Actually, I feel like there's a lot of X-Men that are blue. Or mutants that are blue, maybe? There's a lot of blue mutants, for sure. I don't know about X-Men team members. Number 8. Jimmy Hudson. Jimmy Hudson is the son of Wolverine from the alternate reality of Earth 1610. His powers are similar to his father's, but in this reality they're believed to work a little bit differently. As opposed to just being insane healing powers, Jimmy's power set in this universe as a mutant is believed to be based more in survival. So these powers aren't necessarily just about healing, but survival instincts and capability, meaning that Jimmy is just much better at surviving and evolving to survive than anyone else alive on the planet. And I mean that because in this reality, Wolverine eventually dies, so really Jimmy is the only one left alive who's really good at surviving. Jimmy Hudson has also been bonded to a poison before and gained control of his poison, which are basically alien-like beings resembling symbiotes in look and abilities, but ultimately a different alien race themselves, called poisons. So yeah. Jimmy is the son of Wolverine and Magneto's wife, Magda Lencher, although Wolverine urges him through a letter when the truth of his connection to Jimmy is revealed that he actually shouldn't focus too much on, you know, who his biological parents are. Jimmy was raised by adoptive parents. His dad actually served with Logan in the war and agreed to look after Jimmy in his father's place, even giving the young boy his own family name. Hudson. Gunhawk. Gunhawk became the leader of the Mongrels. He actually got a name, and so did his mother. Yay! His name is William Downing, and his mother was Dolores Downing. She is believed to be a Canadian woman, though the story of her and Logan's relationship still remains pretty unknown. Downing's mother died of old age, so it's likely that she and Logan met a long time ago. And Downing himself is not a young man. He takes the name Gunhawk, inspired by the famous Western gunslinger of the same name. He doesn't appear to have any powers, but he is an expert strategist and skilled combatant. Like the rest of the Mongrels, William died fighting his father. Wolverine gave them the option to surrender, but they refused. Later on, Wolverine would discover that the team was composed solely of his children and buried them, feeling great sorrow and remorse for being made to kill them. Wolverine just has such a tragic story. Everything that happens to him is terrible. Number 5. Emiko. Emiko is the adopted daughter of Wolverine. She first appeared in Uncanny X-Men issue 181, where her mother was killed when a dragon from Battleworld rampaged through Tokyo. True story. Wolverine agreed to look after Emiko as her mother lay dying, worried for her daughter's safety. Wolverine promised to raise her as his own, and well, that's kinda what he did. Well, it was mostly his fiancée Mariko who raised her, as Wolverine of course was often busy with X-Men missions. After Mariko was assassinated by the Hand, Emiko ended up in the foster system. When Logan learned Emiko's foster parents were not taking proper care of her, he removed her from their care and asked his friend Yukio to look after her. Seeing as how Emiko has spent most of her life raised with Clan Yoshida, although she does not have any powers just yet, she is trained in the martial arts. She's even teamed up with Wolverine and Yukio at the end of issue 303 of Wolverine. It's pretty cute. Number 4. Scout. Scout was formerly known as Honey Badger and is a clone of Wolverine. She was also created using Wolverine's genetic material and that of geneticist Sarah Kinney. She is one of 10 clones created in this vein who are often referred to as the Sisters. Gabrielle Kinney, or Gabby, was created by Alchemex Genetics and was trained and used as a bodyguard to be sent out on missions. Her and her sisters were made to feel no pain, which sometimes gives her a strange edge in comparison to some of Wolverine's other children, if we're talking about power levels. Although, you know, pain is there to be felt for a reason, so.
And at 3, Red She-Hulk. A mysterious female version of Red Hulk first appeared when the Red Hulk had gathered a team of mercenaries to hunt down Domino. After this group, called Code Red, not sponsored by Mountain Dew, found Domino, Wolverine slashed his claws across Red Hulk's face, blinding him until his healing factor restored his eyesight. Wolverine was about to deliver the killing blow to Red Hulk when Red She-Hulk appeared, blindsiding him. Red She-Hulk protected Red Hulk long enough in challenging Wolverine. However, just as Red Hulk began to trust Red She-Hulk, she double-crossed him and plunged Elektra's stolen Psi into his neck. Code Red were gathered in the sewers and awaited orders from Samson. Their encounter ended with Red She-Hulk kicking Red Hulk off the Empire State Building. She was then captured by Hank Pym, but her identity was finally revealed when she was stabbed with a sword by Scar and reverted to her human form, revealing her to be Betty, Thaddeus Ross, aka Red Hulk's daughter. And Red She-Hulk has gone toe-to-toe with Hulk in a battle that resulted in both of them dying before being brought back by a wish that Hulk had made earlier, so yeah. Pretty powerful. See, I know if someone has tussled with the Hulk to put him higher on this list now since y'all can't let go. But ultimately, and at number 2, Scar. Scar was the progeny of Hulk and Sierra the Old Strong. After Sierra's death, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, a cocoon containing Scar fell into the Lake of Fire. After a period of time, Scar emerged from this cocoon, appearing to be the age of a human boy. A year later, he appeared to have grown into a young adult, and spent time in the swamps with old Sam, who attempted to raise, teach, and guide him after he discovered him shortly after the Shadow People burned tattoos into his skin. It took old Sam months to get him to wear a loincloth and speak, although to be fair, it would have also taken him a few months to get me to wear a loincloth. As the son of the Hulk though, Scar presumably possesses the capacity for vast if not limitless levels of physical strength among other capabilities, ones which are either fueled by intense anger like his father or via channeling the old power. Once having absorbed 100 trillion tons of kinetic energy from a city to fight the Hulk, he sent Juggernaut flying into space with ease, punching beings miles away, just a lot. And not only that, but thanks to his mother, Scar also possesses the powers of the Shadow People known as the Old Power, which allows him to connect to and manipulate the planet's energies, basically giving him lava and earthbending skills. Finally, in at number 1, Franklin Richards. Franklin Richards is the son of Reed and Sue Richards of the world-renowned Fantastic Four, who like I said were at one point working alongside the Avengers and who were deemed Avengers for a couple missions, so I'm counting it. Basically, the frickin' Celestials have deemed this kid to be beyond Omega level on the scale of mutant-based powers, so yeah. A future version of Franklin came back to our present and managed to bend Galactus to his will, making Galactus Franklin's herald, which I think speaks for itself. This kid is able to tear the universe apart with a single thought, probably making him the scariest damn toddler on the face of this planet. And that's coming from someone who already thinks toddlers are scary, okay? You should have seen that one kid who tried to stab me with safety scissors. It was certainly an interesting Tuesday afternoon. And in the book History of the Marvel Universe, Franklin Richards is revealed to apparently survive the end of his universe and pass on to the next one, like Galactus did, which is freaking insane.
Number 10, Amora and Thor hybrid clones. One of the only children, if you want to call them that Thor actually has in the main continuity were actually genetically engineered by a man named Price, who was a scientist. A mad scientist, I would say. A scientist who ate one too many mushrooms and then had a vision of Yggdrasil. Because of his vision, he believed that after Ragnarok, a new superior race of beings would come into existence, and after getting genetic samples from both Amora and Thor, created clones of those two people together, who for some reason were all male, but anyways. They had no individual names, but were simply known as Price's clones. He created them to help him build the world engine, which would usher in the new superior race meant to come into existence following Ragnarok, as per Price's vision. There is also a lot of romantic tension in this story between Thor and Amora, where they both end up confronting Price and his creations. Also, all of them are bald, which I feel like if they're Thor and Amora clones, I feel like they should have lots of hair. In my mind. Both of those people got lots of hair. Number 9, Modi the Angry. This Modi is the son of a past version of Thor, so not the Thor that we know from 616, but technically this Modi would be from 616. He is one of the few survivors of a past Ragnarok event. The Eye of Odin tells main continuity Thor about this tale, showing him the Ragnarok that had happened and a past version of Thor's place in it. While this past version of Thor died in a fight against the Serpent, he was survived by his two sons, one of which was Modi. We don't know much about Modi, we don't even seem to know who his mother was. Technically, Modi is the son of a past Thor, but all versions of Thor's children are welcome on this list, so that's why we we can count them. Especially as in the main continuity, Thor, like I said, doesn't really have kids. Not even in the comics. A lot of them are alt kids from alternate realities. Modi has bright red hair and seems to be armed with daggers. While we don't know much, we do know he was strong enough to survive Ragnarok, which completely ravaged the Nether Realms. And that's pretty impressive. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you are loving our channel, please head on over to our Facebook page where you can also show us your love by clicking that like and clicking that follow. Whoa, 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 whoa. Number 8. Magny the Stronger. This Magny is another son of past Thor who also makes his first appearance alongside his brother Modi in the original Thor series in issue 293. Where Modi is known as the Angry, Magny is known as the Strong. Throughout the various alternate universes we've seen, Magny would become a more preferred name as well for Thor's potential children. Well, one of the preferred names. There's a couple. Whether it be a past version of Thor or possibly a future version of Thor, Magny is a name that we will see again. Like Modi, Magny also is one of the few to survive Ragnarok despite the destruction of the Nether Realms, which, as I said, is pretty dang impressive because, yeah, Ragnarok usually kills everybody. Also, Magny and Modi both prove together in the following issue that they are both strong enough of will to resist the temptation to use their father's hammer Mjolnir to rule over the other surviving Asgardians, and that they are strong enough of might to hurl it away from them, all the way through space and down to Midgard with a single mighty toss. It's a joint toss, but still, that's pretty impressive to me. That's a far throw.
And at 7, Scotty Summers. Hailing from Earth 1298, Scotty is Alex Summers and Madeline Pryor's son. Scotty, as he came to be known, was born to the mutant superhero Havoc and his then girlfriend Madeline. Sometime after his birth, his mom and dad got married and they moved in with the reformed X-Factor. As a child, he showed no signs of exceptional power and enjoyed a normal life until the Inferno event. During Inferno, he was captured by a couple demons who planned to use him as a sacrifice to open up the world to the malevolent Goblin Force. Alone and afraid, he was rescued by his mother Madeline, who brokered a deal with the demons in exchange for her son's life. He returned home with her, and the demons and the nightmare, it seemed, were over. But when Havoc of Earth 616 wound up in his counterpart in the Mutant X's reality's dead body, Scott immediately recognized that this Havoc was not truly his father. This was the first hint at the scope of young Scotty's power. When his mother was possessed by the Goblin Queen, Scotty was also taken by his father and their nanny, the ninja assassin Elektra. The three became like a family themselves, and Scotty even bonded with his new father. Eventually, Scotty during the battle was captured along with Havoc by the evil entity, but he knew that he was in the right place at the right time, and incidentally knew exactly what to do to end the fight. With a simple touch, he managed to defeat the Goblin Queen, who was possessing his mother at the time. But yeah, it's pretty overpowered. I guess you could say that Scotty doesn't know about his powers. And at 6, Vision. The MCU Vision is in essence the son of Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, Ultron, and Thor, which is honestly a really weird combination. Or if you want to get more technical, I guess Thor and Ultron are closer to his parents, with like Tony and Bruce basically being his grandparents, aside from the whole using Jarvis to make Vision thing. So I guess technically, by that logic, Tony is also Vision's father and grandfather. What? Either way, powered by an advanced AI and the Mind Stone, Vision is probably one of the most powerful Avengers until he was killed in Infinity War at the hands of Wanda and then Thanos, which was a stupid idea as we saw thanks to Ultron's ease with Thanos in the What If series on Disney+, where using the Mind Stone, Ultron just literally tore Thanos in half. Which is probably what Vision could have done, resulting in one of the most frustrating moments of the entire MCU to me. But oh well, what are you gonna do? But yeah, I think that with the Mind Stone he is certainly powerful, but his reluctance to use it to kill Thanos puts him higher on the list, as well as, you know, the whole being mostly dead thing. Halfway through in at number 5, Valeria Richards. Valeria Richards is the second son of Dr. Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, and Susan Richards, aka the Invisible Woman, who did serve as Avengers for a couple missions. Due to her parents being exposed to cosmic radiation and being conceived in the negative zone, it caused her birth to be traumatic. But thanks to her uncle, Dr. Doom, he saved her life using a combination of science and magic. She was born a standard human and developed a genius-level intellect like her father. But as an unborn infant, when she was approaching term, she began to emit bursts of deadly radiation that threatened both her and her mother. Despite bringing in fellow scientists and radiation experts like Bruce Banner, Michael Morbius, and Otto Octavius, Reed Richards was unable to save his daughter, who appeared to be stillborn. Appearances can be deceiving though. Franklin Richards, the couple's first child, felt a deep loss over his sister because, you know, he didn't have a sister anymore. Unconsciously though, he secretly used his psionic powers to transport this daughter to an alternate reality. After Franklin's cosmic powers were depleted during a battle to save all reality, Valeria reverted to an unborn child within Sue's womb. So all of a sudden, she was pregnant with Valeria again. Yeah, Sue then came to term, but again her life was threatened by bursts of radiation from the child. However, this time Johnny Storm enlisted the aid of Dr. Doom, who was able to save her, but not without a price.
Number 3. Wen Thorson. Wen Thorson is the son of Thor and Sif from the 31st century. In this alternate take on the future appearing in Guardians of the Galaxy and known as Earth 691, Woden would suffer initially from having an absent father. Thor could basically not give up adventuring, leaving Sif mainly alone to parent their son. It wasn't until Thor was forced to stay home by Odin that Woden became a potential heroic figure, learning from his father and actually taking pride in his heritage and his people as he learned more about them from Thor. Although why Sif wasn't able to instill this in Woden herself, also being a warrior from Asgard, I'm not really sure, but hey, sometimes I guess you just need your dad around, you know, that's fine. Thor would spend more and more time at the Mead Hall, prompting Woden to leave home. However, he would later return after Loki and his Inhuman army had taken over, and he returned to fight against his evil uncle. Loki would be defeated by Woden, who wielded Mjolnir in the battle, as while his father was no longer worthy to lift the hammer, Woden was. Number 2. Magny. This Magny is typically the one that we talk about when we are talking about the son of Thor, Magny. So usually when people say that, they're talking about this one. Like I said, there's a lot of repeating of names when it comes to alternate kids. It's great. It's a little confusing, but it's great. He hails from the alternate future reality of Earth 3515, which was erased from existence at the behest kind of Magny. The future Allfather Thor, who had Magny with his queen Amora, the Enchantress, ended up traveling back in time to warn his past self about everything that would come to pass should he rule over Midgard, which is also something that happened in this future and sent Thor down a pretty dark path. Thor of the present listened to the warning of his future self and heeded it, preventing this Magny from ever really existing. When he did exist though, Magny was considered to be similar to Thor in his abilities, but he was also believed to be even stronger physically than Thor had been, being known as the God of Strength. Magny was also capable of wielding Mjolnir in his lifetime. His short lifetime. R.I.P. Number 1. Starbrand. While not a child of his or Iron Man's loins, Brandy Selby became the adopted goddaughter of Thor in issue 32 of the 2018 Avengers series. He promised to take care of her after the Avengers, as he saw it, failed her mother, who died in childbirth. Thor especially felt bad as he had succumbed to being possessed by the Brood at that time, and really wasn't much help to the team when they came across the previous Starbrand, Suzanne, Brandy's mother, who went into labor. She gave birth to a healthy baby girl, but didn't survive the delivery herself. She passed on her Starbrand to her unnamed baby as she died, who was later named Brandy by the Avengers, who basically took Brandy in and kinda like did their best to raise her, Thor included. Kind of, I think, a pretty fun story. Lately, she's gone through a dramatic age up in the comics, which has also seen her come more into her own when it comes to controlling her power and tapping into its full potential. And if you didn't know, the Starbrand is pretty amazingly powerful when we're talking about cosmic power forces. It's pretty nuts. A lot Brandy could do with that for sure. A lot of harm, a lot of good, a lot of stuff.
In at 10, Ian Rogers. When Steve Rogers got trapped in Dimension Z, he rescued a baby boy while he was trapped there. Since time moves faster in that dimension though, he ended up raising the boy for over 10 years. Sharon Carter ended up raising him for the remainder of his childhood when she was also trapped in Dimension Z after going there to rescue Steve. The boy was the son of Armin Zola, but he saw Steve Rogers and Sharon Carter as his parents. His birth name was Leopold Zola, but he goes by Ian Rogers now, the name that his true father gave him. By the time he left Dimension Z, Ian was a full-grown adult. He then took on the name Nomad and partnered with Sam Wilson. And at 9, Francis Barton. On Earth 555326, also known as the Next Avengers Heroes of Tomorrow universe, Francis Barton was Clint Barton's son, who raised him to be a hero and helped the rebels known as the Scavengers, and Francis led them around Machine City after his father's death. When the children of the other deceased Avengers, James Rogers, Torrent, Hank Pym Jr., and Osri, arrived, he saved them from Ultron's forces, and James and his siblings followed Francis and the Scavengers to their home base. He told them that he was the surviving son of the original Hawkeye. Then Francis became infuriated when he realized that he wasn't the last Avenger, and angrily wondered the whereabouts of the others during his time of desperate survival. James reasoned that they didn't know of his existence, much like their fathers did, and James, the son of Captain America, and Francis often argued. At first he seemed cold and indifferent to his new friends, but as time passed, he showed himself to be just as much of a jokester and a flirt as Clint ever was. Which is kinda weird because they're kids. And it ate Katie Summers. After the Earth was destroyed by a Celestial, survivors moved into another planet. Here, Havoc and Wasp get married and have a child, Catherine Summers. However, she was born a human, not a mutant, and thus would be subjected to persecution in an all-mutant world. Consequently, her existence was kept secret to only her parents and her godfather Hank McCoy. Years later, Kang appeared and forced Havoc to follow his plan by taking Katie away. Given her connection to the alpha-level mutant Havoc though, if they ever decided to retcon Katie, we can guess that at some point she'd develop a similar power set to Havoc. So if they ever decide to retcon her, she'll be pretty powerful. Havoc absorbs ambient cosmic energy into his cells of his body and processes it into plasma. This results in control over an extremely powerful sort of destructive force. And at times he's not entirely able to control this ability, which sometimes makes him a danger to those around him unless he wears a special containment suit to assist him. Havoc's body is also constantly in the process of absorbing cosmic radiation, so he can basically do it whenever. And given that superhero kids are usually more powerful than their parents, if they ever decide to retcon her, this is gonna be scary, okay? Look, I know that she's a human, but sometimes humans are the most powerful beings. She's also number 8, so chill.
Number 7. Torrent, Thors Daughter. Torrent, Thors Daughter is the daughter of Sif and Thor, who hails from the alternate future that we see in the animated series Next Avengers Heroes of Tomorrow. In this reality, Torrent and the other young surviving heroes were kept safe by Iron Man and aided additionally by Hulk and Vision when it came to their battles and their training as young heroes. Young Avengers. Not Young Avengers though, Next Avengers. Young Avengers is a different thing. Torrent was basically sent to Midgard by her parents to learn the same lesson that Odin had sought to teach Thor by sending him away. She has all the powers of an Asgardian, being the daughter of Thor and Sif, and also seems to have lightning and thunder powers similar to her father. Number 6. Thena, Thors Daughter. Thena hails from the MC2 reality of Earth 982. Here Thena is the daughter of Thor, although mysteriously we do not know who her mother is, which seems to be a recurring theme in a lot of Thor's kids. She ends up chasing down her cousin Silene, daughter of Loki, to attempt to stop her evil plot from succeeding and to rescue Kevin Masterson, son of Thunderstrike aka Eric Masterson, whom Silene had kidnapped. In the process she runs into the New Avengers, also known via the comics as the Avengers Next Team, after a quick fight due to a misunderstanding. Thena would join with the Avengers, continuing to pursue Silene and successfully defeating her and rescuing Kevin in the end with their help. Thena is similar to Torrent in terms of her capabilities, but is more experienced, so she ranks a little higher for that reason. At least she seems more experienced to me. It's my opinion. Number 4. Modi. This is the Modi we talk about normally when we mention that name in conjunction with Thor's. He is the son of Thor and Hela, who in the reality of Earth 1610, also known as the Ultimate Universe, which he hails from, were not uncle and niece as they are in the main continuity of Earth 616 in the comics, and were not brother and sister either as they're known to be in the MCU reality of Earth 199999. Sometimes referred to cinematically as Earth 616, which is super confusing for us because, you know, 616 is the main comic book continuity, so what are we doing with that? Thor made a deal with Hela to give her a child so that he might once more return to Valkyrie's side on Earth. Eventually he would be allowed to return to Earth, but only after Valkyrie had died. Modi was the son that would be born from this deal and would be gifted in magics and was capable of teleportation. He was also able to wield Mjolnir. Instead of being a hero like most of Thor's alt-reality kids, Modi tends to be more villain in the 1610 universe. Must be Hela's influence.
And at 3, Hulk Gang. The Hulk Gang is a gang of hillbilly Hulks who are the result of Hulk impregnating his first cousin's She-Hulk, though not willingly, might I add. Most of the Hulk Gang members though are grandchildren of Bruce Banner, who have become run-of-the-mill thugs, beating or killing people when they don't pay their rent on time. When the Hulk Gang found Logan and he didn't have his money to pay the rent for his farm, its members Bobby Joe, Charlie, and Otis Banner paid a visit to him and punished him for missing a payment. Shortly before leaving though, they said that he had to pay double next month, otherwise they would kill him and his family. However, while Logan was away delivering a package with Hawkeye to get the money that he actually owed them, the Hulk Gang got bored and murdered his family. Once Logan returned home and learned about what happened in his absence from his neighbor Abraham, he went after the Hulk gang and killed all of the members that he actually encountered, including Bobby Joe, Charlie, Otis, Rufus, Woody, Bo, Elrod, Eustace, and Luke Banner. So attaboy Logan. But ultimately, in at number 2, Vivian Vision. Viv was a synthezoid created by the Vision in his process to humanize himself through the creation of a family. The brainwaves of Viv and her twin brother Vin come from the combination of the brain patterns of Vision and Virginia, Viv and Vin's mother and Vision's wife. The Visions moved to Arlington, Virginia in order to facilitate Vision becoming the Avengers' White House liaison, but I also kind of find that funny. Vision, Virginia, Viv, and Vin moved to Virginia. Come on. The family though became instant celebrities with their neighbors, constantly seeking pictures and then them posting them online. This caught the attention of Eric Williams, who became upset that Vision would create a family that appeared to be happy, when the Williams family wasn't, which, I mean, like, what? That's like getting mad at an Instagram model for faking her life. As well as the fact that the Vision's brainwaves were taken from his brother Simon in the first place. Both Viv and Finn attended school at the Xandra Hamilton High School in Fairfax, but they were assigned different schedules to help them assimilate with their classmates. Considering how I previously said that Ultron assimilated a whole load of robots, you kinda have to admit the word assimilate their classmates is kinda setting off a few red flags here. And finally, in at number 1, Lyra. The daughter of Xandra, the Empress of the United Sisterhood, and the Incredible Hulk on Earth 8009, Lyra was gifted with the strength of her parents and trained as an elite warrior for the Sisterhood in their fight against men. But, unlike the other Gamma mutants, Lyra secretly grew weaker the angrier she got. Lyra was called by the Gynosure to head a secret mission, one not even her select band of warrior compatriots were aware of. The Sisterhood's cradle was malfunctioning, causing defective births, and without a replacement circuitry, it would be the end of the Sisterhood's ability to replenish their numbers, eventually leading to their extinction. Lyra was armed with Boudica, a wristwatch with an artificial intelligence linked to both the Sisterhood and Gynosure at all times, and sent to the men's cradle to steal the appropriate parts to repair their own cradle. When a traitor turned on Lyra at the request of the Gynosure, the replacement parts were destroyed in their fight. Lyra returned to Gynosure to confront her for her treachery, but was then sent to Earth 616 to seek out the great Norman Osborn and breed with him. Man, Norman Osborn, man. And at 10, Ultron 1320. Ultron 1320 comes to us from Earth 14622 and What If Age of Ultron number 1, an Earth where thanks to Wasp dying, Ultron is able to take over the world faster. Ultron was created to be the ultimate AI by Hank Pym to help the Avengers utilize their function better as a team. But with the untimely death of Pym's wife, Pym went on to create a more brutal version of Ultron, which was to replace the Avengers, which makes him technically the son of Hank Pym. So he's viable for this list, okay? But since he's a robot, I'm putting him at the top. Don't worry, that's why he's here. But with this, Ultron's sentience began to constantly evolve, and he started the eradication of the human race by taking out such threats as the Avengers and the Defenders while he left Pym alive to just watch everyone suffer. Ultron and his army of Ultron Sentinels then moved to Kola, Russia, so he could bore himself into the planet's core to create the ultimate version of himself, Ultron 1320. Ultron then had his minions batter and beat Pym unconscious until he woke up to find himself turned into Ultron 1321. This version also invaded other worlds, claiming Earths 62412, 23223, and 81223, but before being stopped on Earth 45162. That's a lot of numbers. And at 9, Wiccan. Billy Kaplan, also known by his superhero aliases Asgardian and Wiccan, is a superpowered warlock and the reincarnated son of the Scarlet Witch. He has spent time on numerous superhero teams, including the Young Avengers and the New Avengers, and after Wiccan's powers overloaded during a battle with the Sons of the Serpent, the Avengers decided to keep him under observation. Hulkling and the other Young Avengers broke Wiccan out of holding and began to search for the Scarlet Witch. Accompanied by Magneto and Quicksilver, the team traveled to Transia and then to Latveria before discovering a depowered and amnesiac Wanda engaged to Doctor Doom. The rediscovery of Wanda did not go unnoticed though, as the Avengers soon arrived on the scene. Iron Lad teleported the Young Avengers and Wanda into the time stream, and they all went into the past and met a reanimated Jack of Hearts who was about to explode. After that, Wanda remembered who she was, regained her powers, and returned herself, the Young Avengers, and Scott Lang to the present. She then finally confirmed that Billy and Tommy were indeed her reincarnated sons, a story that seemingly will be adapted into the MCU come Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Summers. And at 7, Osri T'Challa. Osri is the son of Black Panther and Storm. He was taken to safety by Iron Man along with James Rogers, Torrent, and Henry Pym Jr. to keep them all safe from Ultron. Osri, along with his other siblings, only knew of the Avengers through Tony's tales of their former glory days. And as the son of the Black Panther and Storm, Osri inherited their powers and abilities of the heart-shaped herb from his father, enhanced speed, agility, strength, endurance, healing, and senses. He also inherited the powers and abilities of electrokinesis from his mother. One day while he was playing hide and seek with Pym, the Vision arrived at the refuge. Tony tells everyone to wait in James's room until he tells them otherwise. While Osri is fine with waiting, the others aren't, and he fails at convincing them to wait as Tony instructed. When he failed, he and his siblings found a secret entrance to a repair bay under their parents' grave markers. As they searched, they found a room full of Iron Man style robots who resembled each of their parents. While James and Torrent lingered, Osri and Pym kept moving and managed to find Tony and the strange robot, which is actually the Vision. And then all the Avenger robots end up waking up, and then they go to fight Ultron as their programming intended, so then there's a whole kerfuffle. It's when they meet Francis Barton. Halfway through into number 5, Groot. Okay, so this is a pretty weird one, I have to admit. But technically speaking, baby Groot is the offspring of Groot. And while yes, he is also just Groot, baby and teen Groot are younger versions of Groot, and that's basically what a child is. Just a younger version of yourself. And while this may have been a asexually produced offspring, so what? This counts in my book. And while you may consider Groot a guardian of the galaxy and not an Avenger, he served as an Avenger for a time in both the comics and in the MCU. So you can back off, boy. Okay? This is a very meta number, I know, but we've included clones on lists like these before. This is close enough, it's fine with me. Kids are basically clones, we've talked about actual clones, so deal with it. And at 4, Sarah Rogers. In an alternate world where the heroes and villains assembled for the Secret Wars never left Battle World, the location of the conflict, the combatants called a truce and settled down to raise families. Sarah Rogers was actually the daughter of Steve Rogers, Captain America, and the X-Men Rogue. In this reality, Rogue was referred to as Carol, indicating that the stolen psyche of the Avenger Carol Danvers was in control of Rogue's body, and given Sarah's existence, had learned to control Rogue's powers enough to conceive a child. Malefactor Vincent Von Doom, the son of Dr. Doom, tried to take over the battle world and return to Earth in order to follow in his father's footsteps and conquer it, because of course. But Sarah led her fellow young heroes to stop Vincent, and along the way grabbed Mjolnir, proving her worthiness to wield the enchanted hammer. So, as a kid, yeah, you're on the list, don't worry.
Coming in at number 3, we have 2 for the price of 1 with the Tornado Twins, the potential villainous children of the Flash. Born in the 30th century when Barry Allen had briefly retired there with Iris West, these versions of the twins grew up without a father, as Barry was believed to be dead and never returned to that timeline following the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Filling the place of Barry in his absence was unfortunately the Reverse Flash, a villain dead set on ruining Barry's life and creations in any way possible, and turning Barry's twin children into supervillains was right up his evil alley. Having since become members of the Legion of Zoom, a collective of speed-based villains, Dawn and Dawn Allen have the full power of the Speed Force at their disposal, making them incredibly powerful and incredibly dangerous.
Number 2, Hyperman. Hyperman is the son of Wonder Woman and Superman from the Kingdom Come reality. Here, Hyperman as a baby was raised by Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman. However, he was then later stolen away by a villain named Gog, who intended to raise the infant to become a villain. Fortunately, the present day and alternate Kingdom Come future counterparts of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman managed to team up to defeat Gog with the added babysitting assistance of Baby John himself from the future, where he is revealed to be the hero known as Hyperman. Hyperman ends up being a hero who has the combined powers of both of his parents and also has the ability to time travel.
And finally, coming in at our top spot, we have John Kent, the true son of Superman. Half Kryptonian and half human, John Kent was the most recent hero to take up the mantle of Superboy, using everything he'd learned from his parents, Clark Kent and Lois Lane, to be an inspiring force for the people of Earth. Aging quicker than usual due to weird time travel and reality hopping hijinks, hijinks, John Kent has since become the new Superman, taking over his father's position as the defender of truth, justice, and a better tomorrow, and trying to find his own place in the growing DC Omniverse. And to make things even more interesting, Batman has even theorized after examining John's DNA that the unique combination of human and Kryptonian genetics in his blood might mean that he could surpass even his own father when it comes to power once he's fully grown. All of this is to say that John Kent is, in my opinion, the most powerful son of the Justice League.
Number 9, the Huntress. Making her first appearance in All-Star Comics issue 69, nice, back in 1977, Helena is a bad lawyer for Cranston, Grayson, and Wayne. But of course, that's not all. Earth 2 is home to the daughter of Batman and Catwoman. When she was only 19 years old, her mother, Selina Kyle, who used to be Catwoman, died in a tragic mishap. And to add insult to injury, literally, the henchman, Silky Cernak, was the reason behind a photo that came out that shows Selina Kyle as Catwoman a police officer. So of course, Helena was pretty pissed and wanted to go make things right. So she took a page out of her parents' book and became the Huntress. She went after Silky Smooth Cernak and got him arrested. And her mother, turns out, didn't even kill anybody. That photo was tampered with. Hashtag photoshopped. She kept the suit and attitude and eventually wound up on the Justice Society of America. See, if you want the truth, guys, you just gotta get a super persona and then throw bad guys in nets. It's that easy.
Number 9, Van-El. Van-El comes to us from the famous Superman story for the man who has everything. He was a non-powered son of Superman who existed in Superman's sweetest dreams. Superman experienced these dreams after being exposed to an alien parasitic organism known as the Black Mercy. It drains its victims' life energy while giving them pleasant, hallucinogenic dreams. In Superman's dreams, Krypton was never destroyed and he still lived there. He was married and had a son named Von-El. Technically, if they were on Earth, Von-El would likely have powers similar to Superman, but because he and Kal-El were on Krypton, where there is no yellow sun to power either of them, they were both just normal, like other Kryptonians. Number 8, Ur-Zod. Ur-Zod comes to us from the Justice Lord's universe. He was created to be the perfect genetic heir to the throne of Earth, and to help usher in an era of peace after years of war. He was created using the genetic material of Wonder Woman and Lord Superman, but is considered to be somewhat weaker in terms of power levels than his parents. Originally, Brainiac got a hold of Ur-Zod, planning to use and raise him as his own weapon of destruction. Fortunately, he was saved by Superman from the Batman Beyond universe and taken in by their Justice League. While his inherited powers might not be as strong as his parents, Ur-Zod also has the unique ability of being able to control technology, which would prove useful later on in his fight against Brainiac. Man, Brainiac's always making all these fake children. Or well, I guess he didn't make this one, but he wanted to like mold it. Brainiac's always up to no good. That's what I'm learning from this list. Number 7, Lara Lane Kent. Lara Kent is the unborn daughter of Lois Lane and Superman in the Injustice universe. In a dream that Superman has during year 3, we get to see what her life would have been like had that fateful day gone differently for Superman and he hadn't been made to kill his wife and unborn daughter. In this alternate dream reality, Lara is raised by both her parents, her first word notably being mom. When her powers begin to manifest, she is taught by her father and his friends on the Justice League about how to use them. Lara at one point as a young adult looks down at the Earth with her father from space and wonders if the fighting and crime will ever stop. Her dad tells her that they could, if they wished, use their powers to enforce order to save the humans of Earth from themselves, forcing them to have peace. But Lara teases her dad, responding that he sounds like a B-grade villain saying that. Instead, Lara ends up working as an ambassador for the League, helping everyday people to learn how to fight for themselves, instead of just always continuing to have superheroes fighting for them. Number 6, Ariella Kent. Ariella Kent is the daughter of Linda Danvers, formerly Supergirl, and Earth 1 Superman. Ariella lived happily with her parents, presumably until the Spectre informed Linda that she needed to return to her own parallel reality. If you're wondering if it's creepy that Supergirl and Superman have a child together in an alternate timeline, it kinda is if you just hear that without context, but with context, it really isn't that creepy. Linda Danvers is not a Supergirl who is related at all to Clark Kent, not even in her own reality, and even if she had been, which she isn't, this Clark Kent was actually from a different alternate Earth altogether. So no, they're not related. After Linda returned to her reality, Spectre agreed to allow her daughter to live. Ariella, as a 6-year-old girl, was supremely powerful, but didn't have the maturity to wield her powers wisely, because she's just a little kid. She was capable of time travel and mostly traveled through space, playing and unknowingly creating mass destruction wherever she went. That's what happens when you're a kid that is that powerful. You just play with planets and blow them up. Yikes.
Coming in at number 5, we have Terry McGinnis, aka the next Batman. Originally appearing in the beloved animated series Batman Beyond, Terry was the sarcastic and wisecracking next-generation Batman in a dystopian future Gotham, led by an elderly and retired Bruce Wayne. However, unlike Nightwing, Terry's connection to Bruce wound up being more than just as an adoptive father, as it was eventually revealed that Bruce Wayne is biologically Terry's father, as Terry's actual dad had his genetics replaced by those of Bruce Wayne, essentially making the two heroes related. Even without this connection though, Terry McGinnis stood out as a worthy successor to Batman, developing his own iconic rogues gallery and even being able to defeat villains that the original Batman never could, such as the Joker.
Number 4. Kara Kent Wayne. Kara was the daughter of Superman and Lois from the same alternate Earth of 3839, born 3 years after her brother. She herself had superpowers similar to her father's, though weaker due to her hybrid human and Kryptonian physiology. Kara would grow up to become a hero and take up the mantle Supergirl, and ended up falling in love with the newest Batman, who was actually Bruce Wayne Jr., the son of the original Batman. Bruce Jr. took up the mantle of Batman following the previous Batman, Dick Grayson's, death. At Kara's wedding, her brother Joel showed up, having received powers from the serum Lex Luthor had given him, and attacked his family, killing Kara. Number 3. Jonathan Lane Kent. I love that throughout Superman stories we get to see how powerfully good the super family can be and how powerfully evil they can potentially be as well. Bottom line, either way you slice it, they're powerful. John Lane Kent is the son of Superman and Lois Lane from an alternate future. It was believed that he had died due to an irreparable medical issue with his DNA. Shockingly, it was later revealed that the villain Harvest managed to actually save John, taking his body to the past and resurrecting him. Harvest had his own plans for what John would become and turned him into a villain, using him as a weapon to destroy all metahumans. John is more powerful than his father, sharing his powers, but also possessing the ability to turn invisible. It's later revealed that the original Superboy Kon-El was basically a clone of John, and not Superman like we originally thought. Shocking.
Number 2. Athanasia Al Ghul. Making her first appearance in the comics on Injustice 2 issue 3, Athanasia, she's referred to as the daughter of the Bat. Talia kept her as a secret from Bruce, because of course, that's how it works in this world always, so many secrets. But she let Damian become a hero and work with Bruce. So, nice. Athanasia was a member of the League of Assassins. She came out of hiding after the fall of Superman's regime and worked with her mother and grandfather, Thomas Wayne. She was caught in El Diablo's explosion and wasn't shielded, presumed dead, until she popped up in Gorilla City after being resurrected from the Lazarus Pit.
Number 1. Jonathan Samuel Kent, or just John Kent if you will. This is Superman and Lois Lane's child who was born during the events of Convergence. He grew up without really ever knowing the truth of who his parents were, growing up relatively normal but suspicious of what his parents really did. The Kents changed their name to the Whites, escaping the fate of their dying universe and taking up residence on the new Prime Earth, trying to raise John normally and not get in the way of their alternate selves in this new world. Lois still worked as a writer and journalist, but publishing her works under the pseudonym Author X, and Superman kept his superheroic activities under wraps and secretive, going out at night and appearing as a shadow of Superman, as this world kinda already had their own Kal-El. Eventually, the New 52 Superman died, and so the Whites became the Kents once more, and stepped into their usual roles once again. John's powers manifested when he first hit puberty, discovering his laser vision when he accidentally killed the family cat. Shortly afterward, he would take up the mantle Superboy and become a hero alongside his father, starting a rivalry and later a friendship with Batman's son, Damian Wayne. But that's all behind him now, as he went to space, grew up quickly, and now he's a member of the Legion of Superheroes and goes on adventures in the future. Because comics.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Bruce Wayne Jr. Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane. In issue 89, we see the front cover and it's Lois Lane marrying Bruce Wayne. It rhymes, so you know it's a good one. And then to the left we see Superman and he's just thrilled. He's awesome. He's glad to be there. So we haven't upset Lois Lane right off the hop. She's pissed at Superman because he keeps going on these secret missions with Wonder Woman. And then on the same page mind you, just a little bit lower, it shows her with Bruce Wayne and she's loving it. She's like, damn, Bruce is attractive. What? She's like on his shoulders, they're wakeboarding in the sunset. It's beautiful. So naturally they have a baby. I mean, come on, Bruce rocking the green Speedo. Obviously. I love this issue. Superman is like, hey dude, no sweat. You actually have my blessing. Go for it. You got it. Then the next panel, he's like, oh, I blew it. Shit. It's so good. The baby, of course, being Bruce Wayne Jr. And before we go on to number 9, guys, if you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up, because every time you do, somebody here grabs my shoulder and says, good job. And then I smile for hours, so help me smile. Plus it helps us here at the studio too. Awesome, thanks. Okay, over to Huntress.
Coming in at number 9, we have Shane Johns, the son of Martian Manhunter and Hawkgirl from an alternate future. While attempting to find a way to prevent Lex Luthor from unleashing the Dark Goddess Perpetua, the Justice League found themselves traveling through a 6-dimensional doorway to a future where the forces of good had seemingly finally won their constant battle with the forces of evil. All of the members of the Justice League seemed to have found happiness, especially Hawkgirl and Martian Manhunter, who had an ambitious young son named Shane. Unfortunately, this reality turned out to all be a ruse by the World Forger, but in a weird twist, Shane still decided to ally himself with the real Justice League, and used his incredibly strong psychic abilities to help save the day. That'll do, kid. That'll do.
Number 8, Damian Wayne. The son of Batman and Talia al Ghul made his debut back in Batman, Son of the Demon in 1987. And he was perfect. I mean, genetically speaking, he was perfect. He was born from an artificial womb and he was supposed to join the League of Assassins and be a great warrior. That was his life, just laid out. There you go. Which doesn't sound like a bad itinerary. Having a powerful skill set in martial arts before he was even a teenager, Talia al Ghul explained who he was and then left him with his father, Batman. I mean, she was hoping that this would cause problems for Bruce, and that this would disrupt Batman's work. You know, getting a little one to spy on Batman, stir up some shit with Tim Drake. He was actually quite eager to replace Tim Drake as Batman's wingman, so troubled Damian Wayne grabs another Robin costume, added some cool League of Assassins gear, and then takes out the villain Spook. Does he arrest him? Report his Instagram? No. He actually cuts his head right off his body, so that's certainly one way of serving up justice. Guy's wild. At one point, he even ended up sucker punching Tim Drake off of a T-Rex model, not a real T-Rex. Don't worry. And of course, after Batman RIP and Batman Battle for the Cowl, he becomes the 5th Robin. Number 7, Thomas Taylor Wayne. Wow, what a great middle name. Best name ever, I heard. I don't know. Wild. Thomas Taylor Wayne is the son of Batman and Supergirl, Lara Wayne. In Superman and Batman Generation 3, he was born in the year 2626. And spoiler alert, he dies in 2724. In this generation's imaginary series by John Byrne, we see Thomas Wayne's parents as immortal, which is always a nice time, meaning that Laura is Bruce's great-granddaughter by adoption, and Thomas is both Bruce's son and great-grandson. Huh.
Wow.
Number 6, Ibn al-Zufash. Definitely messed up that name, but we're doing our best here. It translates to Son of the Bat. Making his first appearance in Kingdom Come issue 2, Mark Waid and Alex Ross did such a good job. The artwork is absolutely stunning in this epic series. Ibn is the son of Batman and Talia al Ghul. See, Talia kept Ibn as a secret from the Dark Knight. Then later on in life, he basically had to choose what kind of lifestyle he wanted for himself. You know, either go the way of his grandfather, Ra's al Ghul, or follow the steps of his father, Batman. Now, of course, he chose the Bat and took his own grandfather down. That a boy, nice. One time I told my family my grandpa was smoking inside and then I got grounded. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Glad it worked well for him. Awesome. Ibn played a little differently though. I mean, he used his grandfather's resources to do good. He eventually winds up falling in love with Nightstar, daughter of Dick Grayson, and Starfire.
Number 5, Joel Kent. Joel Kent comes to us from Earth 3839. There he was the son of Superman and Lois Lane. However, while Lois was pregnant with Joel, she was exposed to gold kryptonite by the villains Joker and Lex Luthor. This caused her son to be born without any powers. Lex used Joel's shame to his advantage, claiming that Joel's father was the one responsible for this. Lex said that Superman had exposed his unborn son to gold kryptonite on purpose, fearful that his son would become even more great than him. This seeming revelation caused Joel to become more detached from his family, thinking of Lex as more of a father than his own father. He also became more cruel over time. Eventually, he became a villain to his family, accepting a serum that Lex said would restore his powers.
Number 4. Bruce Wayne Jr. Coming straight from one of the most wild comic book issues ever, we have Batman and Captain America. That's right, back in 1977, we see Bruce Wayne Jr., the son of Batman, and, well, we don't really know who the mother is. I'm sure she's great though, I'm sure she's awesome. His uncle, being that of Dick Grayson, was always admired by Bruce Wayne Jr. I mean, of course, look at him. I admire him. I didn't even know this guy. As a child, he would dress up in his uncle's Robin suit and do some at-home workouts. Punch, punch, kick, kick, bam, you know? The good stuff, some Zumba fitness, you know, getting a feel for the suit, which personally, I wouldn't take that suit off if I had access to it. That thing would stink all the time. Gross. So by the time he was 18, he actually worked alongside the new Batman, Dick Grayson. Then after the passing of Batman, Bruce Wayne Jr. swapped outfits and stepped in to take over as Batman. So sick. It's kind of like in Santa Claus when Tim Allen puts on the suit. It's go time. Also, this issue has the smoothest transition when Captain America first shows up. It goes from Batman and Robin jumping out of the way from a bomb, and then cuts to Cap in an explosion with him, like the same kind of fire. Little details like that just capture me. So good. So good. Number 3, Terry McGinnis. Alright, imagine you're going for your flu shot and then it turns out it's actually not a flu shot and it's actually Bruce Wayne's DNA. I mean, after I got the flu, I would have some questions, that's for sure. And I can like chop people in necks. Like, what's going on here? I feel sick, but I'm great at backflips. Project Cadmus director Amanda Waller was out looking for an eventual replacement for Batsy. So she figured she'd get started on Project Batman Beyond. And the key, well, Batman's blood samples left over from his altercations. That mixed in with some nanotech solutions, bam, we have the DNA of Bruce Wayne. So she was out looking for the perfect couple to, you know, force this life onto, and then found that the McGinnis household was perfect. So Warren McGinnis goes for a flu shot, and then he doesn't even know he's soon going to be the father of a biological Bruce Wayne. Surprise, it's a boy. No, for sure, it's a boy, trust me.
Coming in at number 2, we have Hyperman, a distant future version of the potential son of the Man of Steel. In the same reality where the storyline Kingdom Come took place, the young son of this reality Superman, Jonathan Kent, was kidnapped by the villain known as Gog and encased first in a prison of kryptonite and then trapped within the weird branch of reality known as Hypertime. Luckily, someone was there to watch over the infant, his own future self, a hero known as Hyperman that was destined to become even greater than Superman. The baby was eventually able to be saved through the joint efforts of the Kingdom Come universe and the main DC universe's heroes, and the Kingdom Come parents of this child are now determined to make sure that Hyperman's bright future becomes a reality.
And finally, number 1, Bruce Wayne Jr. We go over now to the 1965 version of Bruce Wayne Jr. making his debut in World's Finest issue 154. He's the son of Catherine Kane and Bruce Wayne Sr. He's part of the badass duo referred to as the Super Sons, and that name is pretty perfect for the gang. Sided by Superman Jr., the two would grow up together. And the opening of the issue shows them both reading about their fathers and their super achievements. It's really cute. They even get married on the same day. It's wild. Bad boys for life. My favorite part though is seeing the two interact with Superman Jr.'s powers. There's one point where Superman Jr. wouldn't let Batman Jr. down from a teeter-totter. He said, "I won't let you down until you admit my dad has caught more crooks than your dad." The classic "my dad can totally beat your dad up" scenario. The Super Sons eventually figured out their existence was a sham, and they were just a computer simulation all along. But aren't we all in a simulation?